It's a very great delight to welcome the Forum once again to the guard room at Lambeth Palace, the room in which this was launched, indeed, not so very long ago. And good to know that the Forum is in good heart, that there is energy and vision still around for it, and I hope that will be strengthened and deepened as the day goes on. One of the virtues, as you all know, of the Christian-Muslim Forum has been, and still is, that it operates at that grassroots level, that it seeks to build trust and understanding among what, for the sake of brevity, I'll call ordinary believers. And quite often when I've been asked by the media or in some other context what relations are like between Christians and Muslims, my reply has been, most Christians, if they know Muslims, know them as ordinary neighbours. Most Muslims, if they know Christians, know them as ordinary neighbours. They don't know them as exotic strangers. They will know them certainly as people who are very different from themselves in many ways, but they will know them first and foremost as neighbours, and that's the basis on which relations are built. I would hope, therefore, that when we talk about relations between Christians and Muslims, we don't take refuge in vast and empty generalisations, but remember what the reality is for most ordinary believers. They know the other as a neighbour. And because of that, of course, they know that with their neighbours they face a number of challenges in common and will want to bring to bear on those challenges those values and beliefs and commitments that are deepest in them. So the challenge at grassroots level is to translate the theological and intellectual dialogue into a lively and constructive and sometimes critical engagement with the issues of local, social and national social problems. We mustn't imagine that there's an easy solution which involves us being able, as Christians and Muslims and perhaps as Jews and Hindus and Buddhists as well, forming a solid phalanx of religious people over against the rest of society. That's not a happy position to be in, or a very constructive one. Yet we have things we can offer in common, and as we explore them we shall also find the limits. I've hinted at some of them. In the area of finance and economics, Christians have, on the whole, resigned themselves to the idea that lending money for interest is morally acceptable. Muslims have a very different perspective, and I think that needs drawing out and facing. In relation to science and creation, our doctrines of creation have much in common, but are of course located in very different narratives and very different understanding of how creation operates in relation to God, because Christians believe God is Trinity and Muslims do not, and that is an area of an irreducible difference, and it does affect how we regard creation. In respect of the environment, we probably have rather more in common than not, and that's one of the less contentious areas, which is why I hope we ought to be doing more with it. I think we should be doing more with it. And where democracy and civil liberties are concerned, once again, there's a great deal of convergence. And yet, as again some of the questions submitted for today note, our concepts of religious liberty are not always convergent, and there are some very tough questions we need to address there. How do we value religious plurality in a society? What are the limits of diversity there? So I don't think that any of these subjects is going to be an easy one to address or to hang on to, and yet each of these, and all of them together, seem to me to be a fruitful area. I think that the Christian-Muslim Forum is wonderfully well equipped to keep these issues on the agenda of those we most wish to serve and help, that is, our fellow believers all across this country, people who may not have very much education in theology or philosophy or ethics, and yet have profound and deep commitments which need to be honoured and need to have the chance of being explored as intelligently and creatively as they can be. That's what the forum is for. Building that, can I call it a common wisdom, a shared process of discernment that will help us play our part as best we can in a society which at the moment is not over-endowed with wisdom and discernment. Let's hope that our work together in this forum, and more widely, will generate that kind of wisdom with all the hope that it entails. Thank you very much.